Ferrari is falling, man. Like, there's been all types of memes out there and all types of suggestions that, Lewis Hamilton should go to Ferrari. And I've taken a stand like, what are you all looking at? Like, I think you all are so focused on Mercedes problems. You don't even realize the problems that Ferrari's having. Like, literally, Ferrari started off Charles' 2023 season like he never left 2022. Like, they have fond amount of issues. They've lost the engineer. They lost David Sanchez. They got Fred Vasseur in, and he's in a situation typical, kind of similar to what an NFL coach would be going to a franchise that's losing, and you just lost your star quarterback. So he's not in a good situation. I don't think Charles losing confidence. So Ferrari falling now pretty much like out of the last race, the fourth fastest team. What do you think? Let's talk about Fred first. How do you feel like Fred can turn this around, and does he even have the power and the ability to do so with what lies above him? Because I think people miss Ferrari organizationally have an issue with inside that I don't think Fred can fight, my opinion. What is your opinion on that?
The fact that it was Fred Vasseur who was promoted into this role, as opposed to them once again promoting from internally, suggests to me that even in the higher up situations in Ferrari, they're willing to make some radical changes. They're willing to recognize and understand that there is a culture inside of the team that is, for whatever reason, not producing the results that they're interested in. True. And they need another set of eyes to come in from the outside and say, oh, this is on fire. That's on fire, and specifically, this fire is hotter than that fire.
Okay,
right. This is the thing to focus on, and honestly, Fred. I mean, I did have a chance to meet him for about 2 seconds last year. He seemed like a pretty funny and straightforward guy, but he also seemed like a no BS type of guy. Okay, and one of the key things that he said recently in one of the interviews was, we just have to not BS ourselves. Speaking about Ferrari, earlier on in the first race in Bahrain, there were so many qualifiers and caveats as to why this wouldn't be a Red Bull runaway championship. Well, this is a very rear-limited circuit. The track surface is very abrasive. Tire degradation counts for more in Bahrain than in other places. Right. But Ferrari got the setup wrong. All of these things that say, let's not, push the panic button just yet. And now we come to Jeddah, which is a completely different circuit. Yes, there are some high-speed corners, but there's a lot of, flat-out straights that, in principle, would be very beneficial to Ferrari. They had some pretty good top speed in Bahrain, and Red Bull was even further away. In fact, we know that they're further away because of a Perez and Verstappen dynamic, which we'll get into. They were actually forced to race each other. Right. And so instead of being able to manage in a stable configuration, they were pushing each other at approximately their full pace, and it's big pace. Big pace. It is at least a second faster than Aston Martin, at least 2 seconds faster than pretty much every other car on the grid. So they're cooking right now. But the thing is, what impressed me, so all of those things that we could use to sort of explain why maybe Ferrari isn't as in as bad a situation as we thought they might be, those are much harder to say now. Okay. They are definitely in a situation where there's major work that needs to happen. And as I said before, Ferrari, the team that was fighting Red Bull for the championship last season, even they are not immune from questions of concept changes and looking at things. They're not quite as bad as Mercedes is yet, and they're not going to make changes as quickly, but they have the up the proverbial mountain to climb still. But I do think that Fred has the power to push back to people. I do think that he has the power to fire people that normally would not be fired. And so I do think that they can turn around. But as you said, they're losing time. I think we're actually starting the 5th season of Charles Leclerc at Ferrari. Yeah, right. Because he was there in 2019. And so you're starting to ask the question of whether or not his time is being wasted there. And all this talk about, Lewis, what's he going to do? Is he going to go to another team? I think all that is, once again, part of this wider reaction to Mercedes struggling and all the things that are associated with that. Right. I don't think there's any real truth to that yet. Mercedes has a tough job to do, but I think Lewis being there is his best option. But as far as Ferrari goes, I think that they understand that what Red Bull is doing, and to an extent what Aston Martin is doing, has fundamentally changed the perception of the entire grid.